This pretty good coverage is brought to you by Power Grip, the official retail partner of the European Pro Tour.
Hello and welcome back to MDG Media. Thank you for joining us here today. We would like to quickly apologize for the slow release of some of these rounds. Towards the end of a long season of international disc golf coverage, the MDG crew experienced some technical issues which delayed production, but we're happy to be getting back on track and bringing you this incredible Round 1 Front 9 FPO coverage here of EPT All-Stars from beautiful southern Spain. We see our card here started off by Alessa Schwarz. Strong German FPO player, having already 7 wins in her 2023 season going into this season finale tournament in October. Really solid player playing throughout Europe. Jenni Karppinen joining her. Really solid player, has been a frequent visitor and player here on MDG Media. All around great gameplay. Strong in all facets of the game and a great addition to any FPO card. You see third here, Rachel Turton, fellow commentator here on MDG Media occasionally, and also coming off a really hot, even breakout season for her, stamping her name as a top FPO competitor, both in Europe and globally. We kick it off here on hole number 1. A par 3, 80 meters, although playing is a lot more, it's directly uphill. A lot of players, if they have the power, would like to throw a big hyzer for the right-handed backhand player, but a flex also likely possible to push all the way up over these trees. Really important that you get both the height and the nose angle of the release to ensure you go up the hill while maintaining some integrity to the stability of the flight, needing to come back at the end with tight OB and a sloped green. Quite a treacherous starting hole.
Your 930 FPO lead card. Please welcome the winner of this year EPTX Berlin Open from Germany, Alessa Schwarz.
Alessa here, I believe, making her MDG Media debut. Pushing this flex, trying to get it over those late trees. Will catch the canopy and fall. Doesn't quite scale up the hill, but should be able to scramble a 3 from there.
From Finland, Jenni Karppinen.
See Jenni here. She has great angle control. Gonna look to fight up this hill, but unfortunately that nose not upwards enough, and with a lot of speed finds the hillside.
The winner this year in Turku, Karppinen, and the current British champion, Miss Rachel Turton.
Great introduction for Rachel there. She really likes to use her power as a separating feature of her game against her competitors. She's very strong off the tee, and we'll see her pump this driver way up in the sky. Looking like the wind has taken that a little bit, gave it a lot of height and trust, and does crash into the top of the hillside. You see she did fight that altitude, although going a little bit leftwards. Weather will certainly be coming into play. In the week that these tournaments in Spain were taking place, the wind was really insane. You'll see that coming into play all day here, and already on hole 1. Making these layups very important. You want to put it as close as possible and give yourself a stress-free putt. Unfortunately from Alessa, not the result she was looking for. Getting caught up on those guardians. Rachel, you see where that drive left her, able to just throw one into the slope. Now we see Alessa. She pitches up there. We see what Jenni is left with now. She has a chance, even the backstop behind the chains, allowing her to give it a confident bid, but look to be just a little bit left side, especially early in the day if the motion of the putt is not fully warm. It's common that things will come out left or a bit early. Rachel there ensuring she secures her par fairly stress-free. And worth noting, you might see that there are only 3 players on this card today. The 4th player did not show up for the tee time and missed the flight, so we are just 3 here today, as Alessa with some showmanship on the disc on her way down. Rachel getting 1 stroke on her 2 card mates as we move now to hole number 2. A par 3 sitting at 81 meters downhill. You see this small valley funneling the disc towards the center. What's going to be really important here is speed and height control. A lot of the best throws will actually dig the mound that the basket is perched on top of, but anything long and you will be finding trouble. Really a touchy hole that demands a great control here of probably putter or mid-range disc. Potentially an overstable driver to control the distance. We see just that from Rachel. This one playing very friendly for the right-handed forehand as you crash into that hill on the right. Really a solid way to try and keep yourself safe. Alessa with a early release, but a fortunate ricochet off that rightwards wall back into the fairway. The footing there will be tricky and still a lot of distance to this very scary green. See Jenni here trying to get that straight putter backhand and overturned quickly in that wind. She finds a similar kick back to center fairway, and that should be a more manageable layup than what Alessa is left with here. Still a very tricky shot. And you see she's left herself with a scary putt, still looking downhill. Jenni, good for that one, hitting the hill. Still a little bit of distance left, but surely not too bad. And Rachel, knowing that spot, happy to take a 3 here once again. Choice to be made for Alessa. She gives it a run and just a little bit low. Love to see the tenacity, though, of going for it, even if it was not high enough. Certainly a bid. It's both Jenni and Rachel quickly tapping out their pars, and Alessa picking up another bogey. Here we are on hole number 3. A par 4 at 142 meters. You have this huge tee shot over the valley. You see just a stunning plateau at the other side of it where the basket is perched on top of. Really a tricky hole given the wind, but seeing that it's a 142 meter par 4, still certainly attackable, although it will require good management of the wind, good management of the height of the valley, of the disc, the nose angle, going over the gap as far as you can. I think a lot of players looking to go with something overstable and fairly low piercing line. Not looking to give it too much height in the sky on this windy day. We'll see Rachel up first. She's done that very nicely. Good pushing straight flight into the hill, leaving her that short chip shot. Definitely a manageable birdie. Jenni pushing this long hyzer out, and you see it just getting slammed by the wind. She doesn't get quite as much distance as Rachel, but certainly a good spot as well. Looking like left to right tailwind for these players at the moment. And as a result, you see Alessa exposing the flight plate of the disc with that early turnover to the left to right wind. She gets taken, although did come back softly at the end. She'll be left with a lot of distance to the green. And heavily guarded. She tries to push through and still left here. She could still put this close and potentially have a look for par, but once again a slightly errant release into the hillside And she'll have a long putt. We go to Jenni now. This is her second throw. Quite a nice spot to be, but will need to manage this soft landing, and a little bit too soft there from the hand. Isn't able to fight over to the right and finish the complete flight shape. Rachel with a good look from her drive. Positions herself with that upshot at about 8 or 9, looking to be in the deeper side of circle 1 for her birdie. An important shot for Alessa here. And it looks like she just fought to the crest of the hill. She should be putting on her next stroke. Jenni firing hers up there as well. But look at this, just ripping wind for Alessa now. Straight into the headwind. You see that putter just get slammed, and that's a tough situation. Rachel here putting for the birdie with the tailwind. And she says, no thank you, I will be taking my par, maintaining my stroke lead. Great putt from Jenni there. That's that mid-range confidence booster in the wind, especially those 5 to 7 meters. Some of the scariest you'll get. Alessa there finding the double bogey with the early overturned flight, and then the many obstacles along the way to the green as Rachel continues with her clean round. Here we are, hole number 4, a par 5 at 232 meters. You see that tight tee just snuck in between those trees, and then a long, sprawling, rolling fairway with dirt and hills and rocks and trees. You have many obstacles which you need to navigate. Good footing is a real privilege here on this hole, as you want to push the distance as much as possible and fight your way to this well-guarded basket at the end of this small valley. Really a hole that demands distance and accuracy. In the wind, these players will need to calculate a little bit of risk and reward, how much they want to push this in terms of turnover and height compared to potentially some low hyzers. And Rachel, well suited for her game. She places a great forehand hyzer out there. A nice, safe, overstable shot, but right up in the fairway where you want to be. Jenni looking to get a little bit more turn out of her flight, and the huge elevation changes in that flight as the wind pulls it and pushes it, but really nice straight drift at the end there, sliding up on that loose gravel. A very good spot for Jenni as well, although again touching on that footing, she might be slightly towards that slope, and Alessa potentially at the bottom of the slope, really needing something that can fight this wind here. That's a nice forwards pushing flight as she positions herself back to the fairway. Not going to be the easiest shot on her next one, but certainly a good scramble out of that after the first throw. And Rachel with an early release to the forehand gets a surprising amount of distance given how early it hit the floor. I think still potentially birdie in play, although she's made it hard for herself after a pretty good drive. Jenni getting this high turnover and then crashing out. She's making good progress up the fairway, chipping away successfully. We go to Rachel now. Has a long look. You see she's committed to this drive. She's pushing it really straight with that late fade, and she does enter this final valley towards the green. Alessa as well, with a very similar shape and result there, fading into the left side. Jenni from a good spot, but just look how tricky this is. Forced to go standstill. To really access the green here, she'll need to hit this flex line, which she's done quite nicely, catching a little bit on the way that slowed her down, but the pure hyzer from that stance and the position of the basket was really tough for her. She did well to go overstable and try to flex it. Alessa just dropping a pin to the green. Really nice approach. Both a run and parking it. Very rare you get both. Rachel similarly closer than Alessa, but up on that hill, and you see her get caught up on that left side, really playing quite thick for the approaches. All of this foliage to the left. That basket tucked away. Rachel chips that putt up there. Go to Jenni. Oh, and just off the cage, the long look for her. We see Rachel there after some trouble on the left side of the late fairway. Does find her bogey. We'll have Jenni tapping in for par after that good birdie bid. We go to Alessa now. Also had some struggles along the way. Being very thoughtful about this putt here in the wind, despite being on the shorter side. And even that, you see it catch the high chains and dance a little bit in there. When it's that windy, if you catch the upper half of the chains, it's possible that the wind is still catching the disc and pushing it out before it falls to the bottom. But good on her to keep that one in. Another tricky hole here. Hole 5 is a 101 meter par 3 with an extremely guarded green. Starting about 90 or so meters away, you see it right in the center of these thick guardian bushes. A lot of players could just lay up to the mouth of the green, get your upshot through and take a 3. If you want to try and push this one for birdie, you need pretty pinpoint precision and accuracy. Given that there's that hard ground, even if you land in the green, it's common that you can skip or roll out as well, given the slopes. Given everything involved, this is a tough birdie to find, requiring great touch and accuracy at that 100-meter range. And Jenni there with a nice piercing shot. She hits the initial gap, fades out a little bit early. Maybe, if anything, a bit low on the release, but by all means an accurate shot. Alessa there, slightly overturned, looking for that hyzer flip to really finish with a straightwards push. See the stability Rachel opts to play with here. Going more stable with an anhyzer release, and we see it coming out towards the end. Just getting caught up as well, but that was looking very close to getting all the way. Had some great speed, great shape, and a really nice upshot from a compromised position there from Rachel. Very smooth delivery. You see Alessa leaves herself with a tester there. Very wide straddle, tough to generate all the power that you might otherwise be able to. Jenni a bit short left, that bush really well positioned between her and the basket. She just gets it up, and Alessa off both the band and the cage finds that putt. Nicely done. Rachel there after doing some work to scramble her way up to that par save opportunity. Unfortunately, slips out the right side. Jenni finds her 3 along with Alessa. Rachel, a little bit of damage here on the difficult hole 5. We move now to hole 6, a par 3 at 129 meters. This one requires an absolute bomb to find the birdie on. A lot of these players are going to be looking to throw a distance line and bite off as much as they can. You see as we navigate into this hillside, tucked way behind all of these trees, the basket just at the base of the wall on the left. Really, it's a tough hole. You might see this backstop and think that it opens up for aggressive play, which is of course true, but at that distance and a par 3 in these conditions, as well as a sloped green where anything can happen even after you do a good job getting your disc up to the putting green, you really need to do everything right here, and 3 is absolutely a solid score. We see Jenni throw a low hyzer into that hillside. Looks like good safe progress. This is more of that distance line that I touched on. Really starting it out Anheuser and looking for that long flexing shape. Great throw by Alessa to bring that one back in with the late stability. She should have a good entrance to the green. Rachel as well, finding that ground play towards the end, fighting up the hill. That should shape nicely for an approach as well, although you can see just how well guarded this green is. Even from a decent shot to get all the way up there, incredibly hard. And that's a solid effort from Alessa. So you see Jenni now. After Rachel's bogey on the previous hole, Jenni is leading this card now. And she will also be giving herself a par putt. Slight low ceiling there. Rachel, great distance off the tee, and what a huge benefit that is for her on this hole, to have an open look and be able to put it close. Both Alessa and Jenni needing to make a big putt, and she does just that. And Jenni unable to get under that low ceiling. And perhaps a lapse of focus there, as she had a possible 3, will end up taking a 5 here. And just like that, with the swinging of the strokes, Rachel back in the lead, as we see a 2 over, 3 over, and 4 over represented by this feature card. We continue here to hole 7, a par 3 at 103 meters. You see this over the valley shot onto this tiered green. 4 steps available to land on the basket on the second from the top, really requiring a great touch to sit it on the plateau. A lot of players will opt to go a little bit wide to the left, especially if they're throwing the forehand to try to be putting uphill, but anywhere sitting near that top plateau is also very reasonable. This one's really about trying to stick the hill, make your putt. Shapes nicely for the right-handed forehand if you have the power and the distance. You see Alessa there. Push one out. Does come up a little bit short, but should give her an open upshot to the green. Rachel here, as always, likes to lean on her D1s. Pushes this one out a little bit straighter. You like to see the speed, that late stability, and just catching the edge of the hill. That's that uphill putt which I mentioned. Does play really nicely. If you don't roll down that hill and you can stick it, Rachel knows that she can give it more of a free run than if she were putting downhill. And Jenni showing a great touch on that backhand line. Doesn't quite get all of the distance between her and the green, but very safe considering that risk of the backhand fading left at the end. Just as Alessa's did there, going a bit long. Fortunate to be caught by some of the foliage. That quick green, just barely catching Jenni's disc. And Alessa with a bit of a misrelease. This is Rachel for birdie. She can give it an honest chance, and just off the cage. Alessa with a lot of work to do left here. but she floats it in. Great management of the wind there. Good control of the pace and height of that putt. Jenni taking a fairly easy 3. Rachel, perhaps a little bit of pain on that one, gave herself a great opportunity to take the risk and go for it, and she did. It was very close, but still certainly in a very good position for the round. We continue here to hole 8. This par 3 sits at 84 meters, sloping slightly uphill with a lot of trees guarding this fairway. You see that this basket is perched towards the top of the hill underneath these branches. Really tricky to access this tight green, and if you do, it doesn't guarantee that your disc will stick there. Really some ground play, very possible on both the putts and the drives. If possible, for that 84 meter uphill distance, you want to throw a fairway rather than a distance drive, or even a mid-range if you have one that you can get there, although with this wind, disking up might be ideal. We see Rachel getting us started with a great shot. Soft flex with a nice stable disc. She should be looking at another putt for birdie. Jenni with a line drive, just a laser. Straight to the basket, a little bit low. She gets caught up, but looked to be a nice long Anheuser line. Alessa trying to do the same here, but not quite finding the same stability in her disc. And finds it overturned. Now in a tough spot. Needing to go roller angle, but landing vertically on this hillside could complicate things. Hopefully able to sit down there. Jenni a long look for birdie. And a great bid. Sneaks it just behind the chains. Bit low for Alessa. We go to Rachel for her birdie. Also a bit low. Pretty fortunate to stay that close. That could have gone further, and now just this left for Rachel's par. She does put that one away. A great event here in Mijas, Spain in October. Most other European countries, the weather is really not quite as forgiving for disc golf, so a lot of players like to come to Spain in that winter season, but they arrived here for ripping winds and really coastal weather. Is certainly a factor here for this EPT All-Star event. Hole 9, a 78 meter par 3. The fairway sloping right to left and the basket significantly uphill. Certainly some options in terms of strategy of how to approach the green. You see this very pure tunnel shot, but with a lot of trees on the way and quite a precise line required. Some players may opt to pitch around the left or right, even go over the top if they have the power. Some players may just choose to try and hit that hyzer flip or flex right down the middle, catch the hill at the end, and make the putt. Really, you can sort of lean on your preferred shot shape and shot style on this hole. Rachel going low straight and overstable. Didn't slide or skip up the hill, but certainly a manageable par, if not a long birdie look. Jenni as well. All three of these players looking to get up this center tunnel shot, and all of them coming up just a little bit short, although in terms of width, all of them have an open approach, and a solid run from Alessa there. Looks to have fallen down that hill, but I think quite close, although a very steep putt remaining for her. Rachel gets her approach up there. We see Jenni, a long look for a birdie. And hunting them, she gives it a stab. Settles softly behind. Tricky putt for Alessa. The steeper your putt is, the smaller the gap between the bottom of the band and the top of the cage is. Putting really uphill, that window of chains that you can hit does shrink, so those few meters of rollback that she got on the approach certainly actually a factor in terms of how accessible that putt is. So we see pars for Rachel and Jenni, a bogey for Alessa. Our front nine is concluded. An exciting start to this prestigious tournament. We see here Rachel ending with +2, Jenni with +3, and Alessa with +7. We see Marie Kilas holding the solo lead position after the front nine at even. Rachel's 2 over, finding her in second place, Jenni in third place. A very tight battle you see here. This is an invitation-only event, so not the biggest field, and really showing the best of European talent. We appreciate you joining us here today for this round 1 front 9 feature card coverage. If you'd like to support these projects, you can check us out on Patreon, where there will be exclusive content coming soon. We thank you all for your support and hope to catch you on the back nine.